You ready to go to work and see what's on the minds of our viewers tonight? Yes, see if we can help them out a little bit. Let's go to the phones. CJ from Tennessee, you're up first. Thanks for calling.
Thank you for receiving me.
Absolutely. Your question.
I have two questions. You've answered one of them partly by the Bermuda grass. I want to know about the AGROTAIN, if it works on corn, beans, and everything like that, just like it would on the cotton.
All right. Thanks for the call. All right. We talked about, you answered his question already, so he maybe missed Michael talking about corn and AGROTAIN, how it works on corn.
Well, I think the very important thing to understand about AGROTAIN is that it's not crop specific. What AGROTAIN does is stop loss from urea fertilizer, UAN, or even the nitrogen element in manure. And so where you're applying nitrogen, urea nitrogen for your crop, AGROTAIN is going to make sure it stays in place.
So to CJ's question there, corn, soybeans, it's not going to be, doesn't differentiate the crop that's being put on the ground and doing the work there naturally that nitrogen is supposed to do to keep it stabilized.
That's exactly right.
All right. Thanks for that call there, CJ. We learn from our callers each and every program. Let's go to Kentucky, our next call. Rick, thank you for calling.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I sold off all my cattle last year, and I'm planning on switching the farm over to strictly a hay operation. And we're going to work the ground and reseed this spring. And I was wondering, how can AGROTAIN help me? And could you give me some kind of ballpark figure on the price per acre?
Okay. All right, Dr. Harris. Thought he was going to ask you about a cattle question here.
Yeah. As far as establishment, you're going to put some nitrogen down when you establish the grass, and then you're going to fertilize with some during that first year. So again, like Mike said, it's not really crop specific. If you're putting urea-based fertilizer down under conditions where it could volatilize, AGROTAIN will help. So I think it would help in that situation for establishing that grass.
Are there any do's and don'ts? I mean, this is the first year he's going to go to more total production, not grazing it. Is there anything he might look out for? And then he talked about cost. You might want to ask Mike or Jimmy about that. But what about, before we get to that, anything that he might want to make sure you do this or don't do this?
As far as soil fertility, of course, taking a soil test, make sure your pH is good, and fertilizing again, according to the recommendations. And I'm not a weed scientist, but after that, I would say controlling your weeds so the weeds don't get the fertility, et cetera, and you get off to establish a good stand. Those are the keys, in my opinion.
Okay, so take a soil test. And what about cost? You ask about that?
It'll be around between 5 and 6 cents per pound of N when he puts it out. So depending on how many pounds of N he's going to be putting out, just multiply it by 5 6 cents, and that would be his cost for the AGROTAIN. And like I said there a while ago, if you're losing 30%, that is a very small investment to put the protection there to make sure you don't lose it.
And while we're thinking about it here to help all of our callers, where do I get this? Where would they want to go, Jimmy, to get AGROTAIN?
Well, most fertilizer dealers handle AGROTAIN. If they're not handling it, they can handle it. We have distributors, and we have a sales force, and we have a website, and it has our sales force on there. And if they need any information, those guys that's in their areas would be more than happy to help them out. But in most areas now, the AGROTAIN is becoming pretty well widely used, and so most dealers will have it. But if they happen to have a dealer that doesn't know anything about it, make sure they call our regional managers for their area, and we will definitely help them get set up and get them going.
Absolutely, good job. And you see the website there on the screen, callers, agrotain.com, another great place to go. Put in your location, and lots of other areas there to answer questions, forage, rice, cotton, corn, whatever it might be. All right, next caller comes from down to your territory there in the cotton belt, baby, or the rice belt, perhaps. We'll see what's on Mike's mind. Mike is from Arkansas. Mike, welcome to RFD-TV.
Thank you for answering my call. I'm from Stuttgart, and we used some AGROTAIN in the past, and we used it on some farms where we were short on water, where it took a longer to flood it, and we had good results out of it. My question is, what's the difference between AGROTAIN and AGROTAIN Plus?
Great question.
That's a great question. Since you're in the rice area, you are using urea, and AGROTAIN is for urea, and whereas the AGROTAIN Plus is only for UAN solution. And so it would not be something unless you're putting UAN on corn or pastures or something. But the AGROTAIN Plus has the AGROTAIN and the a nitrification inhibitor, which controls not only the volatilization, but the leaching and denitrification. So it's a triple action. But for the rice growers, AGROTAIN is the product to go with, because we're putting that on urea. And when you're flooding up, you're taking care of that nitrification problem there. So if you get it flooded up pretty well, that shuts down the nitrification process, and the AGROTAIN will control all the volatilization. So a great product, and we appreciate you using AGROTAIN.
Absolutely, absolutely. We will get to more telephone calls, 866-547-9696, for you to join us live here on RFD-TV with our friends from AGROTAIN, talking AGROTAIN and AGROTAIN Plus. John from Kansas, you'll be up first when we come back. You're watching RFD-TV, rural America's most important network. Stay with us.